This here, this, if everybody wants to take a look at that, this is a 10 or 20 cent. If you notice, it has like a Coke bottle top on it. This is a Coke bottle before it's a Coke bottle. This is a 2-liter Coke bottle before that happens. It's crush proof. You can run over with a car. You can run over with, you know, you can throw it at somebody. Then run. I carry my batteries in it. You can carry anything that water you don't want it to get wet. And these are like $1.50. And they're really sturdy and waterproof. So I carry my batteries for my flashlight and this guy.
What is this guy called?
George. This is just a 2-liter bottle before it becomes a 2-liter bottle.
Well, how do you get that? No, what is this called?
How do we find it is what she's asking.
Yes.
How do you find? Email me and I'll send you a link. And it'll be easier if you email me so I can send you a link on the internet, because you can only get them on the internet.
A bottle that becomes a bottle before it becomes a bottle?
You're going to have to email me because I'll have to send you an exact link.
Yeah, but I need to ask you. I don't even know how to ask you because I don't know.
Just say,
George.
yeah, George. Just say George. Okay, this here is a Speedy Stitch. This thing is awesome. You can make anything out of it. It's got these giant needles on it. It's darning it, but I've sewn leather with it. I've sewn all kinds of weird stuff. I'm not saying get this, but I'm just showing you what I carry. And you can build stuff with it if you're out for a long period. I've mended backpacks. I've mended. I was out not tents, but I was out like last year. I took a friend out, a special forces buddy of mine. He's a medic. His son had just turned 16, so we took him out in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, in negative 20-degree weather for rite of passage man week, and we had to fix some stuff, and that came in super handy. Poor guy, he had no idea what he was getting into. You have a fixed blade knife. This is a small fixed blade knife. You can see it's been beat up. With this, I've chopped firewood. I've skinned out animals. I stuck it into a 55-gallon drum to build a stove, so it can go through a car door. It's very specific in what it can do. This little piece here, I've used, if you can see, it's got a little dimple in it. That dimple with it sheathed works for the top of a bow drill when I'm making a fire. But you need a fixed blade knife. And you need a fixed blade knife for all kinds of stuff. They come in super, super handy. I'm very, very picky about the knives that I get. More I'm picky about the steel that I use. There's only 4 or 5 companies that I use their type of steel. And if you email me, I'll send you exact ones and where to get them. This is they go from anywhere between $70 to $400 depending on what you want. I have more of the $70 ones. I'm not spending $400 on a knife. I'm going to break it. There is a company that no matter what you do to the knife, you can, shoot it with a tank and they'll replace it if it breaks. So, knife. This saw can do just about anything. This is a cheap saw. Comes out, and this thing is great. When I first saw it, I was like, that's exactly what I said to my friend. I was like, check this out, dude. I built shelters with it. I've made all kinds of stuff with this guy. He cuts really well. But if I'm taking down huge trees, this is a chainsaw blade that a couple of the chainsaw pieces have been flipped over. And I've cut down trees as big as that pillar right there with this guy. It was work, but we got it done for what needed to happen. It was a dead tree and it needed to come down. And to see if it could do it, we did it, and it was still sharp when we were done.
So that's definitely a 2-person job.
No.
How could you do that yourself?
You wrap it around, whatever you can wrap it around, and you just pull a little guy, like that. I'll do it backwards, so I'm not cutting myself. But if that was a tree, you would do it like that. Pocket chainsaw. This is a good version, and down here I have a crappy version. And they make even crappier versions. This is a middle of the line one, and it's actually as expensive as that one, even though it's middle of the line. It packs up a little bit smaller, but this is, if you can see it, this one does not work as well. It's not a real chainsaw blade, it's just thin tempered steel. doesn't work quite as well. It's the same length, and it's not as fast. It's a whole lot more work. It's more prone to breaking also, and it's the same price. So,
The other one's at like an actual chainsaw blade.
yeah, this one's an actual chainsaw blade, so it means you can sharpen it. EMT shears, but tiny EMT shears. They do all kinds of stuff. Different.
What did you call those shears?
EMT, emergency medical technician shears. Now, so far, this is about self-defense. This is a tool to build shelter. This is a tool to build fire. So this hits, it's multi-purpose. You can use it to make first aid stuff also. Shelter, first aid, depending on where you are, you can use it for gathering water also. So it hits just about everything on your stay or go as a fixed blade knife.
Make a fire?
With this one, you get all your kindling. And so let's say I'm going to chop a piece of wood. Here's a piece of wood here. I put that here. And instead of trying to chop it, you put that just like this, and then you grab another piece of wood like a hammer, and you put it right on the edge of the wood. So if it's a circle like that, you would put it just here, just like that to cut an edge off, and then you hit the top, this piece, like a hammer, and it's called batoning, and it'll split the wood for you much faster than you would think.
I did that in my kitchen with the melon. and
Yeah.
Another board.
Yeah, it's called batoning. Works like a champ.
Well, I thought there was like a flint on there. How do you actually make a fire with the knife?
Well, so fire making is a it depends on how I'm making the fire. So,
You're just getting ready to make it.
no, like you can use it for, like this is a fire starter. I don't use this one for that because I got a striker, but you know, it's a fire starter, so you can use it for that. Don't use the sharpened your blade. There's no point in doing that. But it'll start a fire. So there's different types of fire starters here, and I make sure that I have more than one type. Carry a Bic lighter. Don't carry matches, but always have more than one way to get a fire. Because I was in Yosemite with a buddy of mine who's a survival guy, and in 3 days of rain, we started a fire with just natural stuff and a sparker. This is that thing I just did as a sparker. This is a one-handed sparker if you break yourself, and it's like $2, and it gets little sparks going on. And I spent time in Louisiana, and so 3 days of rain, 45 minutes I had a fire in Yosemite. That's at elevation. Louisiana Bayou, I could not keep a fire running. It was so humid that the air would just put the fire out. So sometimes you're not gonna have a fire. But you need to have multiple ways to get a fire started. The easiest way for everybody in here is this guy. And this goes in every single one of my family's kits. This is tinfoil, but inside the tinfoil is a cotton ball that is covered in Vaseline. Not saturated all the way through, you want some dry stuff. And so what you do is when you open this guy up, he opens up in a square, and I've carved a little X, and then I take a little point of the knife and I pull it out like a candle wick. And then when that happens, on my little fire guy, this is a stove, so we can do it right here without burning the place down. So you do something like that, and you pull this out. And if we want to use a one-handed fire starter because we're injured, and of course it doesn't work now. That's why I hate this guy. I don't ever use a one-handed guy. Okay, so one didn't work, so then I pull out my secondary. This is the one that I most often use. And then you have a fire. And it's that simple to have a fire going, and that'll burn for a long, if you build it right, that thing can burn for 40 minutes, right? And you can just keep pulling that out to burn it. And so then you blow it out, and then you fold it back up on itself and put the fire out after you use it to start a fire, and you can use it again. Right? This is that's just a cotton ball covered in Vaseline. right? And it's super simple to do. And then you saw the little sparker guy. Now I use this because if you're super cold, this is called a ferrocerium rod. They have a bunch of different versions at all these outdoor shops, and they're not worth getting because they're way overpriced and it's not big enough when you're cold. Now this is a carbide tool to sharpen tools. This is about $20. It usually has a little rubber piece to keep that off. And the carbide makes really much better sparks. You don't need it. Any glass will make this go, and steel will make this go. Aluminum won't. It's not hard enough. And you just scrape it on there. But if I'm cold, I can use this, and I can use this if I'm super, super cold. Like your fine motor skills go out the window when you get hypothermic. So you have to have something you can do that with. That's what this does. And so then you can get, and it should be simple. It shouldn't be hard to start a fire. And you're not going to have a lot of these. You're going to have just enough to get a fire rolling wherever you are. You don't want to use your stuff unless you have to. If everybody's comfortable and warm, don't go using up all your stuff just to make a fire.
What's the thing that you scratch the carbide on? The tool. What do you scratch it?
This is a carbide. This is called ferrocerium.
Ferrocerium?
Yeah, you email me, I'll send you a link.
Okay.
That's going to be my answer. Email me, I'll send you a link.
Did you say you have just a regular lighter in there as well?
I don't carry a lighter. That's actually easier for me than a lighter. I got giant gorilla thumbs, and they don't always, on those childproof things, work on those things, so that's faster for me. Also, if the lighter breaks and I'm relying on it, I'm pretty grumpy pants after that.
And you said you don't bother with matches at all?
Matches, you get one shot. You can peel a match. Like I've taken matches and pulled them apart, and then you have two matches out of one match. It's too much work. I've split matches because I want to make sure I had enough. They break. You're cold. You're trying to get them to work. Screw a match. Get something like that. This will last for 20 years. You know, this will be easy day. A match takes up too much space. This is one of the few things, it's kind of like that flashlight, that I will spend money on. So it's a multi-tool. You need to have a multi-tool. Okay, now that was said, with a pause, the only multi-tool I'll buy is a Leatherman.
It's a what?
A Leatherman. It's made by a company called Leatherman, and they have two different types. They have the Surge and the Wave. The reason I like the Surge and the Wave, Surge is my preference, Wave is a little lighter, and it has a few things that it doesn't have quite as many tools. What I like about it is it's got locking blades that are super sharp that are accessible without having to open this up. So I can open up my knife, and it locks. I have to push that little lock down before it'll close, otherwise it won't close. I push the little lock down and it closes. I have scissors, and they're pretty good scissors. I have a super sharp serrated blade, and I have a changeable jigsaw blade, which you can use for metal, you can use for wood, you can use for whatever, and you can make stuff out of. This is one of those things that if you only had to take one thing with you, this and a ferrocerium rod are your friends. Ferrocerium rod. The only thing I'm actually trying to right now make a version that when you open it up, you can unfold one of these things and not have so many tools, and it's a whistle. That would be my favorite. But they're not doing it yet. They're not listening to me. The other thing about it is it comes with tools. So you can put in all different bits. So you can have Phillips, you can have Allen heads, you can have, I've worked on a lot of different things just with this one tool. I was in the middle of nowhere, Idaho, and I had a fuel line break on my diesel truck, and I had a Leatherman because all my tools got ripped off out of the back of my truck. And that's what I had, and I was able to make it work until I got to 200 miles down the road. So that's in my everyday carry.